Hey guys, James here from 5 Star Rating 22. First off, I wanted to take a quick minute to explain the new series that I'm going to be doing. So, what I want to do is make videos that are more in depth on different painting techniques for miniatures. There's lots of miniature painting videos out there where, you know, the techniques are explained throughout the process, but what I wanted to do was actually take and make individual videos where we really break down the different techniques that are used for painting miniatures. Now, some of them might seem trivial or you know, kindergarten stuff, especially to people who've been painting for a long time. But you know, at some point or another, even you were at a point where you didn't know the definitions and the proper technique and such as that. And I'm not saying that my technique is the absolutely 100% positive way to do it, but I'm pretty aware of the different techniques for the ones that I'll be explaining, what they are, how they're done, and then hopefully later on we can get into some more advanced techniques as well. But I think it's important that we touch base on the basics, and I want to really hit the full gamut, the full color spectrum on all the different things that are out there. So that's why I'm doing it. And you know, again, this is based towards helping out, or a lot of these videos will base towards helping out new players and new painters, new people to the hobby, so that they can have a good chance. You know, they might go down to the hobby shop and they're sitting there and they decide, you know, okay, I'm going to paint down here, and they hear some different terms thrown out there by other people, and maybe you know, they don't want to look new, or they just don't want to ask the people down there painting about it. So I thought this was great. They can come here, you can pick out which technique you want to learn or what you want to learn about, and then learn the basic understanding of it, and then maybe go and watch other miniature painting videos. I've even done some and watched the technique in use even further. So that's what it's going to basically be about. Alright, so, and then through the videos, so it's going to kind of be like, there'll be the basic technique that I'm going to be explaining. I'll go through and explain the process, the tools needed, the technique, how to apply it, and its uses. So for now, that's just a quick explanation of what it's going to be about. For this first one, it's going to be a short one, so I thought I'd put it in with the introduction video. And I'm going to be talking about primer. Now, primer is a type of paint that is applied to a miniature to help make it easier for when you go to actually put on your color scheme or apply further paint to it. As you can see here, I've got two minis. This one here, it's a little gun droid, is just a basic plastic miniature off the sprue. There's no primer on it. I'm sure this will look very familiar to you if you're familiar with miniatures. So there's no primer on that one. And then I have a Tau Fire Warrior, and this one here has been primered. I'm going to be doing it on the helmet there. There's some primer on there, so you can see there, that's the difference. Now, primer, like I said before, is a type of paint. Now, you can buy it, it comes in many different forms, and there's types that you can paint on. You can also buy it in a spray can, an aerosol can. So now the primer, the type of paint that it is it's a well adhesive, and it actually helps. It's got a small amount of texture to it. Now this is an empty bottle, but it's got a small amount of texture to it that helps. So when you put on your next coat of paint, when you go to actually put on your color scheme and add all the detail and stuff like that, the paint will stick a lot better. Now this is not, now everyone doesn't do this on every miniature, and I'm one of those that doesn't. I hardly ever prime my miniatures, but I do a base coat, which we'll talk about in another video, which is fairly similar, and the basic difference is the paint that you're using. So here I have a gray primer. This is made by Model Masters, and this is in a bottle here. And actually on the helmet on this guy, I just took and simply painted it on. Now there's other ways of applying it. Like I said before, you can buy it in an aerosol, or like I do here when I do use a primer. I have an old dropper bottle, and what I did was I took some primer and then some thinner, mixed it in here, and then that way I can put it through my airbrush and apply a primer that way. It's a lot quicker, it goes on a lot smoother, and so you can do it that way as well. That's some of the ways to apply it. And then tools you'll need to apply primer is, again, you can do it with simply just a brush. So you could do it with just that, a nice softer bristled brush. Try and thin it out a little bit to get it on there nice and smooth. Don't put it on super heavy, or you can start filling in details. Otherwise, you could use an airbrush as well. An airbrush is probably the best way of doing it, simply because you can get it to the right consistency. It's cheaper than buying the aerosol cans, and it's very fast. So I mean, you can prime a miniature fairly quickly, and you can do a whole bunch of them at once. And then, of course, the third method would be to use the aerosol spray can, the pre-made primers. Like a spray paint, they do make that. There's lots of companies that make them. There's many different companies that make a primer, and you can apply it that way, which also goes fairly quick. Alright, and then now for applying it, that's about it. Now I wanted to show you here a little bit real quick. I've just got some blue paint here, and I'm going to put some on my palette real quick, and I'm going to show you why people use primer. Now, like I said before, you don't have to use a primer, but the reason for using it is that it helps subsequent paints, when you go to apply your paints, for it to stick to the mini better. So I'm going to take here, see, this is the unprimed miniature, and if I apply it on there, you can see that it's somewhat translucent there, and it's going to take, if I go and do a whole bunch of this, you can see that there's some bare spots, and sometimes, now this paint's a pretty good paint, but sometimes it's rather difficult to even get the paint to want to stick without running off. See, like there, it's just wanting to keep coming off, and that can happen sometimes. One thing that I do prime, one type of miniatures that I do prime quite often is metal miniatures, ones made out of like pewter. It seems that paint has a harder time sticking to that a lot of times than it does to the plastic miniatures. But that is something that I use primer on more often. So you can see there, it did go on. I mean, I got it on there. A couple coats. I could have it on there pretty well. So you can see there some thin spots, and right there it was running off a bit on the side of that retina type deal, right in there. Kept wanting to run off there, and it's kind of hard to get the paint just to simply even stick to the plastic. Now this one here on the helmet, as you can see, I have just a thin coat of primer on there, and take my paint, and I'm going to apply it on here then. Same thing. And as you can see, paint goes on very easily. It sticks. I'm not getting runoffs on any spots. It's not wanting to give me real thin spots. And with one more coat of paint, I could have that thick enough to, or opaque enough to be happy, which means, opaque means that it's not see-through. So, you can see there, it helps the paint stick better, get a better covering. So it's not a huge difference, and again, that's why I find that I don't use it a lot, but it is a technique, very simple one. It's not something that you're going to have to practice. There are, when you're using an aerosol can, there can be some conditions where you don't want to do it in a real hot room, you don't want to do it in a real cold room, you don't want to do it in a real humid room, and you don't want to do it too close with the aerosol, and you don't want to spray the miniature too far back. Most of the time on the primer on the can that you buy, it will give basic instructions, say about 12 inches away from the miniature, and nice even passes, instead of simply holding and spraying on in one spot. Instead, a lot of times it's better to come at it from the sides, and you'll get a nice even coat, and then you can hit it from different angles to make sure you get all of it covered. So that's primer. Hope that helps. We'll go on to another technique in our next video. Hopefully you liked this. Hopefully this is something you're going to look forward to. I'd appreciate it, if you liked it. Subscribe, like it, leave comments, tell your friends if you really enjoyed it. Alright, thank you much. Have a good day.